When I speak to people, my friends, throughout those 20 years, and people who retired as doctors,
Yeah.
who went in the previous generation, everybody, wanted to come back, at least 70%. But there are a number of reasons why they couldn't permanent residency in the UK for a couple of years, and I became fully eligible to take citizenship for all the family. But we never did because not only we wanted to come back to India, but we want to do something in education.
Hmm.
It was fantastic opportunity. It was obvious opportunity, and so, but I had to make a decision, because spending another 15 years in Britain means we can never come back. It's not that easy to come
Yeah.
back. Now, I'm glad that you asked this question because what I realized is this word, in India said, please do settle in your life kind of word. The
Yes.
settle,
Yes. Yeah.
the settle is a big word. There is no definition. It always
Yes.
you flex it in the way you want. You must have a base. You must have a plan, but at the same time, 100% base, 100% safety, 100% security, even 90%, that's not going to be possible unless you won a lottery or you sold an IT company. For in India, the quality is in so many tiers, unlike US. So if you send to a government school in the UK, they'll be absolutely fine. Most of the government school, they are at very good quality. And he went to a private school, so he was, really getting the best possible education. So how do I match that?
Yes.
His school was in 50 acres campus, 300-year-old school, Gothic, all of that, playgrounds. We gave the option to remain and study in the UK in a boarding school, and then university time, it's up to him. We can make the decision later on, US, UK, India, and so on. Or come with us, and this is the school we shortlisted. Have a look at it. Last 30 years belong to China. Next 30 years is going to belong to India.
Yeah.
I strongly believe that.
You can say, hey, I thought about it. I don't think it's the right fit for me. I made the right decision, which is fantastic. You won't have any regrets in the life later in the point. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Desi Return. Today, I'm really excited to have Dr. Kondal Reddy on our show. Dr. Kondal went to UK around 2001, and he has lived in UK for close to 20 years before making a decision to move back to India. He has been living in India for the last 3 years, and he has been in academic field for the last 25 years. He did his master's and PhD from University of Manchester, and he has worked as a deputy vice chancellor at University of Greater Manchester before moving back to India. And because of his passion in the education, he started his own international school in Hyderabad called Manchester Global, which is, different perspective, someone who was an academic. So I'm really excited to have a discussion from someone who has spent their career in academics. And also at the time of the move, he moved with kids who are in middle school. A lot of interesting tidbits on how kids adjusted, how they adapted, and I'm really looking forward to the discussion. With that, welcome to the show, Dr. Kondal Reddy, sir.
Thank you very much indeed, Avinash. Good evening to you, and thank you for that kind introduction. So, absolutely delighted to be with you this afternoon, and I hope that I'll be able to provide some tidbits, as you suggested, to the our listeners, and probably those tidbits would be useful in their return to India or return back to India.
Definitely, definitely. So let's start a bit about your background, about your education, and what made you to move to UK at the first place.
Yeah, Avinash, I left UK for the UK around 2001 Jan. In fact, 26 Jan 2001. Um, Before that, I did my bachelor's degree and MBA in India and worked for a couple of years for Tata McGraw in India. And then, early 2000s, as you know, there's a wave of people who went to UK, US. So I could say I was one of them. wanted to study a master's degree at University of Manchester. So I did my master's in business information technology. After my master's in the UK, um, September 11 happened during my master's, and that changed the job market there. And while I had opportunities after my master's, I didn't get the opportunity that I really liked. I wanted to be a business analyst. And at the same time, I was exploring to do some research. And fortunately, I was offered a scholarship to do a PhD in knowledge management at the time. And yes, I've taken that opportunity. And after my master's, 4 years of PhD degree. And after that, a very long career. I started my research career as a research fellow in my final year of my PhD. And then after that, I worked as a dean and then pro vice chancellor and then deputy vice chancellor. So before I moved to UK, I worked, my last role was as deputy vice chancellor, leading the whole academic function of the University of Greater Manchester, called now. And yeah, so that was my kind of education work background in the UK.
Got it.
Just a snapshot.
So how was the life in UK? For the 20 years is a long time, and yeah,
Yeah, I think like all of us who went to US, UK, Australia, the first couple of years are quite tough, and I probably can say this. So, when we go to study, especially not H-1 visa, but or work visa, when you go to study, we probably take, half of the money required for the fees.
yeah,
Generally, most of the families. And I know I was one of them. And so you need to work hard, do part-time jobs in order to pay the full fees and also your living expenses. And, it's nothing special. Everybody does that. All
yeah,
of us, the previous generation at least, we did that.
yeah,
So completed my PhD. And just before I completed, my university, University of Greater Manchester, they processed my work permit themselves and gave me a research fellow job. So until that point, I would say it was quite tough. Student life, especially I enjoyable, but at the same time tough.
yeah,
And as most of us struggle with visas, work permits, in the UK it's much tougher because at that time there was no post-study work visa.
mm.
A lot of people who are settled now, they don't probably remember those days. So it was tough to get a work permit. So, but somehow my university processed the work permit. I got it and got married in 2004 while I was PhD student in my final year. Good decision at the time. Otherwise, doing PhD, you go mad sometimes.
yeah,
But it was good decision to get married in my final year.
yeah,
So yeah, so then life probably once you get into full-time work, paid full-time work, paid job, it becomes that little bit easier. So in my first year after our marriage, my wife went to university
yeah.
while while um, while I was doing my work. She went to university for a year and then she became a full pharmacist in the UK.
Oh, nice.
So one thing I would say is people who are just going or just settling, work both parents developing career is an important thing. If at all possible, always having both parents working gives a lot of confidence and also lot of base. Both for as a couple, but also for children. You can do so much more if both are working.
Yeah,
So my wife was a qualified pharmacist in India, but when she came to UK, she needed to do that program, 1 year full-time program, not a
yeah,
part-time, to become a UK pharmacist. So it was quite hard, but that was one of the best things we did. So she went to university, got it done, and she became a full-time pharmacist. So we both worked and had two children there. My son Aryan, daughter Moksha. Aryan is elder, Moksha is younger. And after that, my career slowly progressed from research fellow to senior research fellow, and then I became a reader, and I was dragged into leadership role. and my university made a dean. That was unplanned.
Yeah.
Here also, I would say to people who are growing in their career, life throws a lot of opportunities at you,
Yeah.
sometimes unwanted opportunities. And this role I had as dean of strategy was to actually restructure the whole university and cut 15% of the jobs. So my research was in business process reengineering. So therefore, my university thought that I was best placed in terms of the skills to do this restructuring, which I did. And then I wanted to go back to my research career, but they never let me. So they said, now you sort out the academic part. So then I became assistant vice chancellor academic, and uh, I couldn't go back to my research career. So leadership career grown from
Yeah.
assistant vice chancellor, then pro vice chancellor, and then deputy vice chancellor, which is looking after the whole academic function of the university. I would say career has been phenomenal. In fact, it's probably a lot of hard work, but definitely some luck as well, I would say. But I grabbed any opportunity that was related to my skill. And even though it's tough and not many people want to do things like restructurings and all of that, I grabbed those, and that paved me way into a leadership position, which is we get a lot of NRIs, Indian origin academics into professorial roles and all of that, but very few people actually go into leadership roles or gain leadership roles. So that was the journey in the UK, and my wife also grown in her career,
Yeah.
and fortunately, this is probably a bit debatable, but I would say probably I would say it. We debated a lot about sending our kids to either private school or a public school,
Yeah.
and after a lot of thought, um, when I went back to my own life, my parents worked very hard to send good school in India.
Yeah.
Now we are making enough money to actually to send to a private school, both children, very expensive,
Yeah.
very, very expensive. But we thought our parents gave the best for us in terms of education. And
Sure.
that's what got us this far in the UK, I'm talking about.
Yes.
So why can't we give the best?
Yeah.
So we sent our children to private schools, which again I never regretted. We could have purchased so many properties back home with that money. It's personal, but I think people want to know. So I we sent to private schools, and it was very, very good decision. Despite of warnings from other friends, we did that,
Yeah.
and I never regretted. That's one of the best decisions we made, to send to our children the best possible schools in the UK. So yeah, that was a difficult decision, but I think we made it, and children have grown. So by the time we reached 2020, around that time, my son was 13, and my daughter was just in third grade. My
Okay.
son was in ninth grade, and my
Yeah.
son daughter says, and then something happened. We needed to make a decision. But yeah, that was the journey.
No, first of all, congratulations on your successful career. I mean, it's very rare to have people on the leadership side, especially on the academic side, right? I think the progress that you had, the impact that you had in the university, I think which kind of paved the path for you to make that contributions and make that impact in the university. So congratulations on that. And also sounds like I think your wife is also very successful in her own career and kids are enjoying their time. So sounds like everything is going fine. So why the thought of moving to India? Is that something that has always been there? Or when did this thought occurred? Was there some timing? Maybe talk a little bit about the reasons behind it and how did you approach it? If you're relocating to India after years abroad, listen up. I have created something that will absolutely save you precious time that most NRIs waste while Googling. This is based on my interaction with hundreds of people about their move back journeys and uncover the biggest frustrations NRIs face when planning their return. So I came up with something that can help: a 15-week email series, a free step-by-step roadmap to address these challenges and make your move back smoother and stress-free. Whether you're moving back for family, retirement, or visa related reasons, we got you covered. Here is what you will get each week: actionable tips to decide if moving back is the right choice, strategies to plan your move back, whether it's from logistics, career, financial, tax planning, how to choose the best school for your kids, And we also have several checklists that help you with the move, from a financial, logistics, and much more. This isn't just an advice, it's carefully crafted roadmap to save you time, reduce stress, and help you make better decisions. Ready to plan your move with the confidence? Click the link below in the description to join for free and start receiving actionable strategies right in your inbox.
Yeah, I think it's probably the question that's there in every Indian going abroad. I think majority of us want to come back. It's not just me. Majority, I would say 70% would. When I speak to people, my friends, throughout those 20 years, and people who retired as doctors,
Yeah.
who went in the previous generation, everybody wanted to come back, at least 70%, but there are a number of reasons why they couldn't. So in my case, I always wanted to come back. At some point I wanted to come back and come back to my hometown, Hyderabad. And that's the reason why, even though in 2012, when we came in 2021. In
Yeah.
2012, we became eligible for British citizenship. I had what they call permanent residency in the UK for a couple of years, and I became fully eligible to take citizenship for all the family. But we never did, because not only we wanted to come back to India, but we want to do something in education.
Hmm.
And if you have to establish an educational institution in India, you have to be an Indian citizen.
Okay.
That's an important part. Some people don't know that.
Yeah.
Uh, so not only that, but I always wanted to remain as Indian citizen. Um, and a lot of my friends, took British citizenship, who came during my time, and it was a good decision for them,
Yes.
because it gives a lot of flexibility and safety, and also travel wise, lot of benefits as well.
Sure.
But because I always wanted to move back to India, especially in the education field, I kept my Indian citizenship. My wife did as well. My son did as well. Um, my daughter, we were forced to take British citizenship because we had a wedding to attend, and she was very young, and Indian passport was taking 40
Too
days
long.
or something, and British passport was taking about 1 week or something.
Okay.
So that's the only reason why we took British citizenship for my daughter. But apart from that, all the family kept Indian citizenship. Anyway,
Yeah.
so that's that. So we always wanted to come back, and so just before COVID, so we were planning to come around 2025.
Hmm.
Okay, just around 2019, end of 2019, just before COVID hit us. I was deputy vice chancellor for 5 years at the University of Greater Manchester. And my university offered me to become vice chancellor,
Yeah.
in a year time. But they more or less wanted another 10, 15 years commitment, which is, natural.
Mhm.
They want me to see at least three strategic plans to be implemented, and so on and so forth. And it was fantastic opportunity. It was obvious opportunity. And so, but I had to make a decision,
Hmm.
because spending another 15 years in Britain means we can never come back. It's not that easy to come
Yeah.
back. I was 44 at that time, and I would have been 16, spending another 60 years, if I spent another 15 years. So my children would have grown up, and to come back late 50s and 60 is difficult. I wouldn't say impossible.
Yeah. Sure.
Children won't move, and so
Yeah.
on. So here we have a great opportunity of becoming first Indian for a British university's vice chancellor, probably one of the youngest at 45. That's a fantastic opportunity to die
Yeah.
for. And in a university I loved, and I've grown with it. And then here is a pull to come back to India, in 5 years' time.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't have the 5 years to make the decision, because once you were offered that kind of position, the leadership position, you can't stay there by declining that position.
Yeah.
You have to either take it or leave it, because it's a leadership position. So we thought it for about a couple of months, and said, okay, let's make a decision now. and we made a decision to come back to India. I said sorry, that my dream to do something in India was much stronger than becoming a British University Vice Chancellor. So a lot of people criticize that, actually,
Mm.
for good reasons.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
won't blame, because worked so hard and it's on a gold platter. Why don't you take it? And
yeah.
going to India, establish a school or whatever. So we made a decision to come back. We brought forward from
Plan.
2025 the plan to 2021. I discussed with like-minded people, some of my friends, very close associates, and some people understood, some people did not. But my wife was a great support, and parents had a dual views.
Yeah,
But the pull was so strong, so we made a decision to come back. I told my university that I'm leaving. So because I was deputy vice chancellor, at least 1 year, 6 months to 1 year notice is essential. So 2021 April, we came back
got it.
to India. So it's that. So yeah, it happened 5 years early, and I would say probably that's a God's blessing. I would say, because if I didn't come in 2021, some of the things we did, I don't think would have otherwise happened.
Got it. So yeah, thanks a lot for sharing that. First of all, again, congratulations for having an opportunity to become a vice chancellor at such a young age. Indian diaspora to be able to be a vice chancellor for a British university, right? So that's a golden opportunity. But again, you have that strong pull to be back in, and you have to make a decision. I'm definitely very curious. I know even though you have the opportunity to take the citizenship, it's just the strong pull to do something in India, do something in education field is so clear in your mind that made it very clear that what you want to do, right? I think, no need for this and all that stuff. That's kudos. I mean, having such a clarity and thought process and, helping in your decision process. What I'm curious about is 2025. Where this year come from? I mean, just curious, even though you went in 2001. So is there like a 25 year, you have like certain milestones that you think that you're going to hit? And then I understand about the reasons to pull back earlier, but I'm just curious about this long-term vision or the plan of 2025.
Yeah. So a couple of things. One is, I wanted my son to go to a university by that time.
Okay.
Okay, and younger child, and as we come to India,
Yeah.
so that's one aspect. But more important than that, some of the plans we were doing to establish education institution in India, it required a lot more funding.
Yeah.
So I thought I will require not only me making more money, but also pooling that funding, making the solid plan,
Mm.
acquiring land and other things to establish this education institution. I thought it will take in that time, that four or
Yes.
5 years, and I might be traveling quite a bit between India and UK while I was doing that. So the 5 years additional, for probably, yeah, additional 4 or 5 years, 4 years was for that,
Got
to pull up more funding, to have a clear route for my son to go to a university, and establish the base for me to come back. Now, I'm glad that you asked this question, because what I realized is, this word, in India, said, please do settle in your life, kind of word. The
Yes.
settle,
Yeah.
the settle is a big word. There is no definition. It always
Yes.
you flex it in the way you want, and
Yes.
I don't think there's a definition. So I realized after I came back to India that there is nothing called settle. You
Mm.
see, you're never settled.
Yeah.
So you need to take that shot at some point. Of course, not blindly.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
need to have a base and all of that, but you will not have the complete base where you can say, now I'm absolutely safe, and now I can go to India. That situation is never going to happen. So that's why I feel that it was lucky that
Yeah.
I came back early, because what I realized is, even if I came in 2025, I would have gone through the same
Same
problems and
process.
same process.
Yeah.
Um, but you may ask, if I came in 2014 or 15, would it have been the same? I would say no.
Yeah.
The reason I would say no is, The fact that have grown immensely in my career,
Yeah.
and also I was mature enough to make certain big decisions.
Yeah.
So I really believe if I came 5 years earlier, I don't think I would have achieved certain things.
Yeah.
But if I came 5 years later in 2025, it would have been the same.
Yes.
Probably worse in some some cases.
Yeah.
So I really do think I came out at the right time. So 2025 is about that.
Yeah.
Okay. But I would say if I came in 5 years earlier, I would have struggled
Yeah.
because of the position and the kind of things I delivered, the kind of experience I gained in that 5 years between 2015 and 2020 was completely different, actually. The risk taking, the strategic management, the networking, and also when you came to India, people know who you were.
Hmm.
The relevant people know who you were, and it was much easier to convince people to invest and a lot of other things.
Got it. Definitely. I mean, again, I think it's the experience that you gain,
Yes.
it's so much invaluable, right? I think
Yeah.
in terms of what you can get.
Yeah.
But
One thing I would highlight, Avinash, is those who are planning to return. Definitely, I would never suggest people to come back blindly.
sure.
You must have a base, you must have a plan, but at the same time, 100% base, 100% safety, 100% security, even 90%, that's not going to be possible unless you won a lottery or you sold an IT company for billions or multi-millions. That's not going to happen. But that's 0.001%. But majority of the people who wants to come, yes, you need to have a plan, you need to have a base, financial, family, other things. But I would suggest to expect complete solid plan, solid base. It will be flexible. It will be here and there, but things will work out. But you
Yeah.
need to have a good plan and good base.
Completely agree. I think you should take a rational decision, not an emotional decision
Yeah.
that's well thought through. But it doesn't have to be like a perfect plan where you have everything sorted out from A to Z, right? I think as long as you have a solid plan, which you feel comfortable to make a rational decision, I think it's worth going. I think there is no limit to what you want, right? Like, the corpus fund. Yes, this
Mm.
is good, but it's never enough. Like, you think it might be, I mean, it's an evolving door, but what is a good for your solid plan, I think is the key point that you're trying to make, and I completely echo with that. Yeah. So yeah, let's, I think, switch a little bit. I know in your situation it's a little bit of unexpected move to some extent, right? I think you kind of preponed your plans. Anything that you can talk about on a planning side? Maybe someone who has lived for 20 years, from a logistics, from a financial, from any of those aspects, so that you can shed some insights.
Yeah. So, planning, firstly, everybody, I'm sure everybody will have something. They want to do something in India, you see. First thing is, I think, financial security. I would always say that, first thing is financial security. And as I said, couple of things, you need to sort out. One is, hopefully,
Mhm.
hopefully, a debt-free house,
Yeah.
and enough savings to cover children's education up to university level, you know, whether it's in India or somewhere, that those are basics
Mhm.
because that you can't compromise. If you have those two, then you've done half of your job, I think. I'm talking about people, general.
Yes,
I'm not
yes.
talking about somebody who sold a software company for $50 million or something. That's, they don't need to think, they
Yeah.
can do whatever they like. That's a different situation. But a vast majority of people I'm talking. So a debt-free houses, um, enough savings to cover children's education, and also at least three to 5 years of their own sustenance.
Yeah.
Even if they don't have any job when they come back, if they have sustenance to have 5 years of the without getting a job,
Yeah.
or even if they have a job, if they lose it, still they should be able to sustain about 5 years. That they must have.
Sure.
The reason for that is us, as non-resident Indians spending so much of time, I'm talking about people 10, 15, 20 years, we got used to certain lifestyle, certain quality of lifestyle. Our children got used to certain lifestyle. Now, when you come to India, you can't go below that. that you must ensure,
Yeah.
right? Just because you are returning to India, suddenly you can't change your lifestyle and expect on a lower side and
Yeah.
expect your children to adjust. They won't. They will be upset. They'll be so. That's the reason, you cannot degrade your lifestyle or the quality of life that you lived
Yeah.
when you are in the US, Canada, Australia, doesn't matter. That's why you need this sustenance for 5 years for the whole family, debt-free housing and children's education, financing that and so on without working or even if you lose a job. So that's the basic part.
Yeah.
That planning you must. And I strongly recommend, unless their family is super wealthy, already in India, then that's a different ball game.
Yes.
But if you are one of those ordinary Indians like like me, like anybody, then you need to sort the basics out. After that, then a plan for what you are going to do as a wife and husband. Is it that you are going to find a job in India, or your company is transferring, or you have a business plan that a lifetime dream that you have to implement. It could be anything. It could
Yeah.
be social service. It could be a job. It could be starting a company, or doesn't matter. Whatever it is, then you need to have a plan on the paper,
Yeah.
and preparing children emotionally, all of those also, but planning for these. Now, even if you are coming on job, I'm talking not talking technical things. There are a lot of technical things like packages, movers. That is a
Yeah.
little problems anybody can resolve, but these big things you need to sort out before you put that paper, whether it's a resignation, or taking that flight. Those decisions you have to have a solid plan.
Because those are big decisions and you need to have a
Yeah.
solid at least written thought process on how you are going to execute on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's switch gears a little bit. I am really curious about the kids situation. You have a strong pull to be in India. How have been with kids? I mean, what's their mindset, especially for someone to move at age 13? It would have been a big task. So I'm just curious, like how open were they for the idea of moving back to India, and how did you
So, yeah,
navigate it along the way?
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think, again, I thought, and my wife and I, we thought through what will be the impact on them. So you can't just make a decision, selfish decision that you're going to come and children are just going to, come with you. They will, but you need to make sure that you talk to them. So my son was 13, my daughter was 7 years younger. So she was 7 at the time. Okay. So my daughter, I was confident. She was quite young,
Yeah.
so she was very flexible. Mom takes care of the daughter. She's very very close to both of us. So we thought it will be quite easy for my
Yeah.
daughter because that age they don't have close friendships and all of that. So coming back to our son who was 13, um, so we thought first about his education.
Yeah.
So he was grade 9 in the UK system. And if we move now, the first impact it's going to have is in the UK system, to qualify for university local fees, you need to be in the UK for 3 years before you go to university. So
Got it.
first thing, he's not going to be eligible for the local fees if we move at grade 9.
Yes.
Okay. So first thing we said, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
We'll bear that pain.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's out of the window. That's a factor that we were okay with. Next comes quality of education, his education when we moved to India. Because in India, the quality is in so many tiers, unlike US. So if you send to a government school in the UK, they'll be absolutely fine. Most of the government school, they are at very good quality. And he went to a private school. So he was, really getting the best possible education. So how do I match that?
Yes.
His school was in 50 acres campus, 300-year-old school, Gothic, all of that, playgrounds, rugby, and all of that. Now, how do I do that in India? Hyderabad. So we explored various schools and all of that, and shortlisted only three out of visiting 20 schools.
Yeah.
I shortlisted three schools at the time. Now, then I thought, yes, there are reasonably good quality schools in Hyderabad. may not be able to match UK quality, but he will not be seriously upset with it.
Yeah.
So that we determined that, so there's the opportunity is there on the
Yeah.
education. Then discussing with them, right, preparing them. So we sat on we were preparing that, we are thinking of going to
Yes.
India. It's not like a sudden shock. Oh,
Yeah.
tomorrow we're gonna, or next month we're gonna catch a flight or something. So for 6 months we were preparing them, and during this time we sat for a decision making kind of. So for my son, we given an opportunity to study in the UK in a boarding school.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so if you want to study, he's old enough to go to a boarding school, ninth grade, and so on.
Yeah.
So they're very fantastic boarding schools in the UK. Financially a little bit more painful, but we were able to afford that. So we gave the option to remain and study in the UK in a boarding school, and then university time, it's up to him. We can make the decision later on, US, UK, India,
Yeah.
and so on. Or come with us. And this is the school we shortlisted. Have a look at it. So he was okay with it. He looked online, and but we were traveling in between. So there was a choice as well on table for him. There was also a couple of good school options in Hyderabad that we have chosen. And he said there's no way he's going to go to boarding school in the UK. He wants to be with family. So, but we genuinely offered him that choice.
Yes. Yeah.
So that he was reasonably matured. In
Yeah.
that at ninth grade, people remember for life that so. Yeah, so we all that part we did. So similar, my daughter, we did not give her choice.
Yeah.
She was quite young,
Quite young.
and there were boarding schools for that age anyway, and it's not right to do that.
Yeah.
So she came, and straight away it was not an option. So yeah, we've gone through the process of preparing them, choice, what kind of choices, and so on. Now, here I strongly recommend school choices are very, very important. Where you're going to live was also important. That's a part coming to India, but you asked for children education.
Yes.
So I hope I probably covered key points. I don't know whether I have missed
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
that.
Definitely. I think they have always been prepared about the move to India. And this is very fantastic that you have genuinely given a choice where they chose, right? I think especially for your son who is in a grade
Mm.
9, chose where he wants to be. I think so that's very appreciated. I mean, fantastic on that. So let's talk about the life in India. So after the move, how was the life in India for someone who has spent 20 years and moving to India? How is it?
So I'll talk about children first because
Yes.
we're on that topic.
Yeah.
So we came back in 2021, and we were aware that we're going to come back almost 9 months to 1 year prior to that.
Yeah.
So we had that whatever honeymoon period.
Yeah.
So we knew we're coming. So we planned the packers, movers, and all
Yeah.
of that. That's all. And so we moved to a community, a villa community. So we rented a place. We had our own house, but that's far away from the project I was planning,
Yeah.
the school project. So the two things really helped the children is the school and the community where we lived.
Yeah.
So it's a gated community, which meant that there is a safety aspect. Now, this is critical, very, very critical, because the way people roam around, your girl, your boy, in the US, UK, Australia, they'll move freely because there's a sense of safety inbuilt with them.
Yeah.
Okay. In India, that is not there. Okay. So the safety you need to look at very. I'm not saying always go for villa community or whichever an apartment community, villa community. Make sure that you're not taking away the sense of freedom that they had to roam around, freely, whether it's within the, clubhouses and all of that. That is important
Yeah.
because, the health and safety things in India are very, very basic. So a few months or at least a couple of years, you need to protect, especially if they are young. So make sure that the house you move to or the community you move to, the basics are taken care of, health and safety. Otherwise, they think that, you see, in India, sorry, in the US, Australia, UK, there are safety nets everywhere. The swimming pool, they have a barricades, the road, they have this and all of that. People, when they freely roam around, accidents won't happen there because it's all thought through. In
Yes.
India, it's not. So please do remember, because I don't want to give examples here, even though I know some tragic things. But please always make sure that the housing part doesn't matter whether it's apartment or whatever. The safety things are okay because their mindset is different,
Yeah.
and the infrastructure they came from into India is different. So please make sure that you get it right. So coming back to the fundamentals, so the community where we came immediately after we returned is pretty safe, and they cycled freely in the community and all of that. So that, I would say, solved 60% of the issue for children to settle in. The other half is the school.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, my son being in grade 9, he had friends in the UK, all of that. He used to play and do all of those aspects. So when he came back, he knew he was going to miss all the friends. Now, the school you select, as I said, first is quality.
Yeah.
The second is the school's infrastructure. Most of the school, whichever country you are coming from, Western world, they have, things like grounds are basic, right? When
Yeah.
they come back if you put them in a poultry farm like a school, they're really, really going to struggle.
Hmm.
They really feel depressed because, I had some examples of that where just because of the children not happy with the whole life, they had to go back
Yeah.
to after returning to India, they have to go back to whether, US, UK, whatever. I've seen so many. So choice of the school is quite important. And the infrastructure, the quality of education, the playgrounds is very important because that helps children to settle quickly and make friends quickly,
Yeah.
right? So because making friends in a classroom is one thing, making friends while playing, while swimming, while cycling is a different thing. You see, so that housing and school, if you could get these basics right,
Yeah.
almost, from children's perspective, you're good, and they will settle. My children settled almost within 5 to 6 months,
Oh, nice.
both in terms of the house and in the school.
Okay.
They had sleepovers and things like that, and somehow it worked quite well.
Yeah.
And yes, there were problems. It's not that it's perfect, but these two, the housing, the community where you lived, and the school solved most of the things and made them to settle quite quickly. So that's about the children.
Yeah.
I, I don't know whether I covered enough on the children's
No, oh,
side.
yeah, yeah. I think that is good. So I think maybe there might be one quick question on the children, like while we're on the topic. In terms of the education, I know the school selection was important. I know you said, I know the quality is there, might not be the equivalent. So especially for your son who is in the ninth grade, right? Uh, how did he adapt to maybe, the education system itself? Like in terms of the languages, in terms of the subjects, just maybe, high level if
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
talk. I think that would
Sure,
help.
sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So, my son was in ninth grade. He was pretty good at math, science, and apart from English, obviously, in the UK, he had French in his school as another language. So when we came back, um, we had an exemption here. So in India, we came to IB, International Baccalaureate. So in the UK system, for those NRIs who are coming back, the UK system is nothing but Cambridge system. So the Cambridge University took the UK education system and made it a product called IGCSE or Cambridge. So UK system is nothing but Cambridge IGCSE system.
Yeah.
Okay. So what they do in the IGCSE Cambridge system is in the UK, they study the 10th grade or SSC or that 2 years.
Yeah.
So, and then they go into intermediate 11 and 12. So my son was in grade 9. So he was supposed to come back and repeat if the ninth grade again to become equivalent to his
The
age.
bike. Yeah.
But for a number of reasons, he went into grade 10. So he was 1 year ahead. but that's a small technical thing. Now, the curriculum choices in India are now majorly is your CBSE. There's no way most of the children won't go into the state Telangana or AP curriculum. Very rare.
Yeah.
But generally, the choices are CBSE, which is Indian curriculum.
Yeah.
And then you have Cambridge, which is UK curriculum, also called IGCSE, and then IB, International Baccalaureate, which is well established in the Switzerland, US, and across the world.
Yeah.
So we chose IB curriculum here in India, and he came after passing 9. We came into grade 10. Now, this is going to happen for a lot of the audience who are listening. Now, you can't perfectly finish an academic year, come and join,
Yeah.
because US system, Australian system, they're all different. Sometimes, or many times, you may need to come halfway through and join in India, right? Exact match doesn't work, or a few months late. Um, so, um, so we came in April,
Yeah.
which is 2 months before they were supposed to finish in the UK system,
Yeah.
but that was okay. And then joined in Aga Khan in July.
Okay.
So he had another 1.5 month more holidays.
Yes.
Schools gave permission and all of that. So he came and joined IB because we thought that gave the broad flexibility. Now, a lot of parents ask this question already. You came from the UK system. Why didn't you join the UK system in India?
Yeah.
Right. Now, this is where the school selection comes into picture. It would have been better in the UK system, but when I analyzed the lot of curricula and the schools in Hyderabad, I could not find a good Cambridge UK school. There are good, but I wanted really the best. The combination of quality of education plus infrastructure plus overall development, all of these. So my criteria was quite hard. So I couldn't find. So I compromised on the curriculum, but not the quality of the overall quality of the school. So so he joined IB school. My daughter also joined IB school. So they both went to the same school. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, now let's talk about maybe your life in India, you and your wives at high level, like, anything that you have struggled or, was everything okay? Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say everything is smooth because I think probably, your audience is doing a lot more better because I did not join Desi 3, 4 years ago. I don't think I did too much of research on the family settlement on that kind of side. I was so much focused on
Yeah.
the institution establishment. A lot of things took a backseat. So anyway, so couple of things. What you realize is the India that you lived before you went 20 years ago, 15 years ago, and the India you're coming back to is completely different.
Yes.
Right. And there's this classic error that we do when you go to UK, US, whatever, by subconscious, you will convert the dollars to rupees, right? So in the first year in the US or UK, you say, oh, how many rupees this is costing? Your mind goes into it for some reason.
Yeah.
I've seen many, including myself. When you come back, you do the reverse.
Yeah. Because that's where you spend most of the time, like 20 years, and then you got used to the system. Yeah.
So you try to adjust to now then you realize the people in India, I mean, across the spectrum, I'm not talking rich, poor, middle class, whatever. People spend like mad here. I mean, unbelievable. And I lived 20 years. Even if you convert dollar to rupee and whatever, after the conversion, the people spend mad. So majority, I'm not talking about, so that's the first shock you'll see. I'm not talking about returning. We are very conservative. Generally, if you take a survey, the people who are returning are reasonably conservative. The people who are here and who worked and wealth or not, and what they're used to a different kind of spending. So that's the first shock we have seen. Nothing to do with wealth. Generally, the India has changed.
The culture, yeah.
The culture has changed. Whether it's functions, celebrations, whatever it is. So that's the first kind of not a challenge, but it's a shock because
Yeah.
everybody has their own lifestyle.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong, right or wrong. So that's a
Yes.
something we needed to digest very quickly in terms of people's lifestyles has changed. The conservative nature, the 20 years that we adopted, where you calculate, you do that, you don't spell just like that, you save all of that. Now that in general
Yeah.
has changed in India. The second is the housing, the real estate, the whole thing. Everybody knows the prices go up, but again, doesn't matter how much you prepare, you still get shocked.
Yes. For sure.
Yeah. So that's another aspect. And then relationships generally, 20, 15, 20 years especially, you see that you're not up to the speed in
Yeah.
terms of the cultural transformation that has happened in the last 20 years. And so what I would suggest here is, take a little bit time to observe. We tried uh, our best. Sometimes it was difficult not to judge. Let them. You actually go with the flow
Yes.
rather than being a rebel. Oh my God, why is he jumping the speed lights? Why is this? You honk, on the road. In the same thing in relationships also happens. I'm not,
Yeah.
you honk in a different way when when somebody says right, don't say please. Lot of the things. So I would strongly recommend go with the flow and start observing because you are an alien. They are not,
Yeah.
right? Returning wise, we are aliens in
Yes.
this.
Yes.
You missed the 20 years.
Yeah.
No, it's your problem, not their problem. They're
Yeah.
not going to change.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Yeah.
The road traffic is not going to change. The jumping the lights is not going to change. Them honking is not going to change. Hopefully it will take another 2, 3 decades for them to change. But don't try it because you only get frustrated. I'm giving physical examples, but in
Yeah.
relationships also similar things will happen. So try to go with the flow and you will adjust.
Yeah.
They will not.
Yeah.
And it will take probably 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, and you understand. And then your genetic memory of growing up India kicks in.
Yeah.
And we will adjust. And,
Yeah.
and and that's quite important. I'm not saying
Yeah.
you should lose what you have gained in terms of civic culture and all of that. You keep it, in the
Yeah.
home and all of that wherever possible. But don't try to lecture people. And even if we try, we fail because India is a huge thing and they have their own way of growing up and all of that. So, um, in terms of children, what you gained as culture and the financial discipline, keep it. Don't lose it. But what I would suggest is go with the flow as much as possible, observe and slowly adapt,
Yeah.
your children as well. So that will, because the reason it is important is you're coming back to India, right? To have that relationship and that connection. If we behave like, we came from somewhere and, that alien concepts,
Yeah.
people don't like it.
Yes.
I'm not saying I have done that, but I've observed,
Yes. Yes.
So make sure that you adopt because you need to enjoy that, that
Yeah.
connection, that family. That's the reason you came back.
Yes.
Otherwise, you are well off there. So
Yeah.
so make sure that you protect that. You protect that family connections, relatives, and all of that. That's what you came back for. So yeah, adapt and all of that. So that's on the cultural side and all of
Yeah.
that, and slowly, dollars, pounds conversion, all of that will disappear. you you learn to spend in rupees in
Yeah.
reality. All of that will happen now. So that's on the other side. On the business side, it was tough. I think children, your business plan, your relationships, settling back into Indian culture, all of that. Probably at a bird's eye view level. And if you have that deep um, conviction that you got to come back, work on it, because and at some point you need to take that very, very harsh decision. It's not easy. It's not easy, and so many people struggle with it. But and as somebody who wrote a lot, whether it's PhDs or whatever if you have an ambition to come back, put it on paper, I always put on the left-hand side advantages of coming to India, right-hand side disadvantages, whatever you do. So everybody has it, even if it's on a rough sheet or of paper, put it on paper. Even family matters, financial things, relationships, children, put it on that. Would they be better off there? Would they be better off here? What should I do to get them better off in India if I'm going to go there? So then and you sleep on that paper, and things will come to your mind, and then you make a lot of progress, in the meantime. So that formal planning, and you nicely put the emotional. Don't take it emotional. Make a rational decision. And one thing I would say is, your family and friends. It's obvious, but I always say that now, the school we established now, Manchester Global School in Hyderabad. Uh, there are 6 other friends, and all of them I knew for 20 years,
Yeah.
right? So, you know, that friends and family that you have, close friends,
Yes.
not the guy you go pub with and tomorrow morning you all fight. The close friends, they're absolutely, that's what you're coming for as well. So make sure that connections, that connections, you base, that's very, very important. And because when you come here, it's like a shock, as you said, a lot of things, shocks you. But uh, also this part, I will tell, but maybe it's debatable. Um, Sometimes we try to, in terms of security or safety, we try to travel on 2 boats. Okay. So some people want to say, okay, I'll go to India, try for 2 or 3 years. And if it's good, I'll stay. Otherwise, I'll come back. Right? Now, this has a difficulty. The reason is, if you come with that mindset, majority of the times it's not going to work out. Okay. I'm not saying you shouldn't have a base. You might have house and all of that, everything. You need to come, especially if you're starting a business or something. Definitely, if you're starting a business, you need to come with a conviction, because it's going to be tough, especially business. If you're coming on the job and almost semi-retired and all of that, that's fantastic. There's no issue. But if you're coming to start a business, and if you're thinking, if it works, I'll stay. If it doesn't work, I'll jump back. It's not going to work most of the times,
Sure.
right? So my university gave me an option. So why don't you go on sabbatical for 2 to 3 years? And if it works, you can stay. It was a golden opportunity
Yeah.
for me to remain on the payroll, sabbatical, and all of that. But I know that it's going to be a very tough journey. So if I kept my sabbatical option, came back to India, the kind of difficulties we faced, I would have jumped back. It was that tough at certain points, at least 3 times in those 3.5 years I came, at least 2 times it was tough, really, really tough. And because of the ambitious nature of the project, it was really tough. A number of things on finances side, on legal side, and other things. But because I did not keep that option, I had to go through that, and
Yeah.
it paid off.
Yeah.
It really paid off. I'm glad. I never regretted for that. Oh my God, why did I come back? Um, yes, if you have a house, things, if your son is staying in the university there, that's all okay. But if you're coming on an ambitious plan to start something in India, to settle down here, make sure that, you don't think like, oh, it's an experiment. It's think that it's a life thing.
Yeah.
Your life depended on it. Think like that. It's your
Yeah.
life depended. Now, that's the thing I would say, because I have seen a number of people, probably about at least 30% going back.
Hmm. Yeah.
Didn't work out.
Yeah.
I observed while I was in the UK, I observed they went and they came back, and they went and they came. So yeah, come with a plan that your life depends on it.
Yeah.
Then, then and I really wish all the best for the people who are planning to come. And from my side, I would probably summarize this way: last 30 years belong to China. Next 30 years is going to belong to India.
Yeah.
I strongly believe that.
Yeah. No, thanks a lot for that. I think I wanted to go back to like how we started, right? I think when you
Yeah.
said 70% think about, right, at least talk about moving back to India, but only very few percent actually move back. It's a very on the minority side. And I think this goes back to what you're saying, right? One is talking. When you meet on a weekends, you just talk, but on the weekday, you're back to the routine and then but the key point is just take some time, put some thought, put it on paper, pros and cons, evaluate it. Staying in abroad is also fine, but at least you made an informed decision. You made a decision, yes, I want to stay in abroad or I want to move back to India.
Yeah.
Everything is fine, but at least you put some thought, a solid thought, and made a rational decision at that given point of time before life goes by, and you don't want to have the regret. I think the one you mentioned about where people have this regret, wish I have done that or wish I have done that, but at least you can say, hey, I thought about it, I don't think it's a right fit for me.
Yeah.
I made a right decision, which is fantastic. You won't have any regrets in the life later in the point. So the point is take some time, think about it, and see what's right decision for your family. That's one thing I just definitely wanted to highlight. And then I think the other point you mentioned about the safety net, yes, you can't have it on two boats. The key point there also is the what's the major pulling factor. There will be hurdles everywhere, whether you're living even in abroad, whether you're living in India. There will be like no place is perfect. There will be some challenges, but if you are clear with your major driving factor, that makes you going in terms of what you do. And so yeah, thanks a lot for your time, thanks a lot for all your advice. And I know it's been a long, but I think it's worth it to hear someone who has done this and who has established something from his lifelong plan, right? I think, someone who is even qualified but didn't take it just to implement it, who had opportunity, like a golden opportunity, decided to fast forward the plan, has an option to be back as a safety net, decided not to do it. That shows like how much serious you are about your dream project or about what you want to do. So thanks a lot for sharing your journey with us. I hope this is valuable to a lot of our audience, and wish you all the best with your project with school and everything. And yeah, thanks again.
Thank you, Avinash. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. And hopefully, things that we discussed help our friends who are thinking about it. But thank you very much indeed, and wish all the best for the people who are planning to come back. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.